So you have come out of Thorin's hold. Out into the light of outside, finally, after spending several days underground in dwarven halls and holds and things of that nature. Tunnel kind of slopes downwards, and you emerge into this sort of pretty steep hill that leads almost directly from where you are to the ocean. And as you kind of begin that walk towards the ocean, where you know, or you think you will find elves, you can catch a glimpse of this great white tower that like is poking way up into the air above the rest of the city. It takes a little bit longer until you kind of like crest another hill that you can see the rest of this city, this tower, white buildings or ivory. And beyond it, there's these crystal clear sort of blue waters. And you can see that there are some ivory ships in the water as well, 3 of them, these great sort of swan-shaped ships that you might have seen before, maybe not. It might be a marvel to you. They're much bigger than the ships that you would see in Gondor. And you see them kind of like leaving the harbor of this little, you wouldn't really call it a city. It's smaller than that, more of a castle. And you see them leaving out towards the ocean. And as you kind of like follow your eyes, you can see that they're heading towards something, and that something has black sails, and that there are numerous ships there. It looks from here to be 8 ships with black sails, sort of curved triangular sails, sailing with speed towards that city.
Black ships have found their way here.
Spies of the enemy.
Not just spies. He kind of grits his teeth and holds onto the heft of his axe or something.
Varoth looks out towards the sea. Does it look like they are fully engaged in a battle, or are they maneuvering to begin doing so, Lloyd?
Looks like they haven't yet. There's still quite a bit of distance between the black sails and the white ships of the elves, but they're definitely approaching. The elves are obviously sailing out to meet them. They've seen them. The black ships are much smaller compared to the elven ships, which sit very high in the water as well, compared to these sort of like very sleek, very, very quick black ships. They haven't encountered each other fully yet. But as you're kind of like watching, you can almost hear it, but not quite, but you can see all these missiles fire from the elven ships, huge arrows, perfectly white as well, up into the air. You see one of them like tear through one of the sails, and they crash onto some of these smaller black ships.
It is impossible to catch the elves by surprise. They are artisans in jewelry and fine carving, but also in war. I believe they stand a good chance here, but perhaps we should lend our assistance. Perhaps an open offer for help will promote good relations to begin our parley with.
But be careful as we progress, because no doubt unless we run into elves we have met before, they may not know one human from another. And think we are some party of raiders come to surround them from the other side.
Eric nods. And as he does so, he puts his hand underneath, I don't know, his coif, his thumb, and just pulls out on the chain the golden, sorry, the silvery, almost light-emitting necklace that was given to him by Hirath, the elf who set them in this direction. Let's make a good impression. and then he like spurs CRO down the hill.
So you can start making your way towards this town, castle, city. You don't know its name, which is odd. Usually you would. You can see that it's a clear day, apart from like this particularly thick sort of mist that hangs off to the south from where you are. And you can hear this like dong, dong of like bells in the city as like alarm bells are rang. And you can, as you kind of approach closer now, you can see like elves, like ants kind of swarming around the city. Many of them trying to get into that particular tower, which is obviously where like the fortified part of the city is. But beyond that, there are other elves who are leaving through the gate that you are heading towards. And as you kind of like get close enough to see them close, you can see why that shroud of mist is a cloud of smoke, and within it is a ship. You think you would call it a ship, but maybe it's a castle. It's very hard to tell. It's probably the biggest ship that you've ever seen. It has 5 masts, each with a huge black sail, and it's sailing towards the city. And as you kind of like approach, there's another, and all these flaming projectiles fly from it towards the elven ships, and one of them smashes right into the mast of one of the 3 elven ships, and there's immediate just like splash and steam and chaos, and it's been directly hit, and this ship, enormous ship, just continues moving slowly towards the shore.
Board would follow. Cynaric is currently riding down towards the settlement, right? Board would follow suit, sticking together. But I imagine there's kind of a harbor or a dock in this place, and Board looking down the hill and seeing where that area is will kind of direct his running towards that direction. But right now, as the ships are exploding in the sea beyond, what is important is that as many people can be saved as possible.
Yeah, as you approach the gate itself, it's exactly as you had predicted, Beleriand. A number of elven archers who are standing watch here kind of draw bows, have them ready to go. And one of them calls it a challenge. "You'll not enter here so easily. Back!"
Cynaric at some pace quickly comes to a stop and sort of rears up on CRO. The light and the fire perhaps catching the mithril barding, and he holds out his hand with the necklace pressed against the palm, still attached to his neck. "We are elf friend. We are only here to offer our support."
He doesn't take his eyes off you, and he says something quietly in Elvish to the other elf next to him, and that one seems to nod. "You are recognizable. You're the Heralds."
Yeah.
"Then it's fortuitous. Glorfindel has not yet set out. If you make it now to the docks quickly, you can go with him."
Point us away and we'll be there.
"This way, quickly." And he like legs it down the stairs, and he like ushers you, and there's chaos in the city. And as you're kind of running through the streets, you can see elves like panicking, which is just never the case. I don't think you've ever seen elves panicking or running in fear like this. But there's just these like massive explosions happening as like these fiery projectiles like land in the city, and you can see like chunks of marble be destroyed from various perfect ivory buildings that have never seen a bit of dust, and now they're just like covered in soot. You can see that there are dead elves in the street as well, which is almost unimaginable to think. But this elf leads you quickly through, and he has to like push his way through crowds who are trying to make their way to that huge white tower that you can see on your right as you're running or riding towards the docks. How do you feel about seeing this?
I think the first thing that runs through Farroth's mind is not distress, but absolute surprise. It seems that Sauron's reach is further than, or he can reach further than Farroth could ever have expected. Considering perhaps the west, the very, very west, to at least be some kind of front to make a fight from. But even the enemy come from the shore, the sea, and that is troubling to him. But he doesn't give voice to these concerns. It is important to stay focused in situations like this, and he does his best to avoid his gaze meeting all of the dead elves lying around them.
I think Cynric, being probably mostly unfamiliar with the sea, let alone ships upon it, let alone the fiery destruction that they have wrought upon this city, but it is just like any other destruction, just like any other combat. There are people that need saving, so we must fight.
So as you like thunder through the town itself, you can see all around just elves dead, and you think of like the thousands of years, maybe tens of thousands of years of like memories and like knowledge that's been lost from that this like wanton destruction. You can see like when you get closer to the dock, the smaller ships are maneuvering quickly around the bigger elven ships, but the elven ships are doing a lot of damage. But the two of them that are there have basically been held in place by these smaller ships. They're holding them in place, and the huge ship is slowly moving menacingly towards them. But that's, you see this team of elves, and they have like rope and they're pulling, and you can hear this like heave, heave, just at the docks, and they're pulling along this like specialized track with wheels. They're pulling a ship, an elven ship that was not in the sea, but it is going to be soon. They're pulling it into the water, and it kind of, as you approach, there's a as the first part of the boat hits the water, and they move it all the way in. Not quite as big as the ones you've seen out there, but still formidable. This one has a white horse at the front, where the others have a swan's head. And standing at the top of it, holding a banner in one hand high, is just the most perfect elf that you've ever seen. And you've seen Thranduil. This is even more than that. You kind of can't believe that he's real. It's too perfect a creature by far. It's this face that's chiseled by the gods, it seems. Hair that's so silver that it seems to glow. This resplendent suit of silvery mithril. And he has this banner in one hand and this long curved sword in the other. And he looks around, and his voice carries easily above the din of the battle. It's almost like it stops and goes quiet as he speaks. We are the firstborn, and we shall not relinquish this ancient place, this place that was once Gondolin, to the enemy. Stand with me, he calls, and there's like an immediate effect on the people who are around, who are panicking and like screaming. They kind of just like stop and like snapped out of their panic, emboldened by this figure. You feel like immediately this sort of sense that it's going to be okay, an enormous sense of pride in yourself, like in your abilities in this city. You feel this great pride in this city, which you've never heard of, but you feel like you're part of it. He looks around and his gaze lands upon you, Beleriand, and there's this like smile that no art could capture. Ah, my friend Beleriand. Fortuitous timing indeed. Come and join me. We must make our way onto that castle and deal with their commander. They use primitive powder. It's what's causing the explosions. I say we give them explosion to remember.
Happily, I bear the ring of Barra here, given to our distant ancestor by Finrod Felagund of the House of Finrod, and as a friendship between the races of elves and men, and I am willing to fight with you again. And I'm sure I speak for all of my comrades.
Good, good. We have need of you. Desperate need. If you remember, this elf was at the council with Thranduil a long time ago. It seems like forever ago. But he was there. He barely spoke, but he was there watching. He seems to remember all of you. And as you say that you'll help, he plants with this like ridiculous movement his sword into the deck of the boat, and he extends a hand to you.
I spoke out of turn before, so I turn to Faroth to lead.
Faroth just gives Baragon like a warm smile, and he then looks to this radiant elf, and he goes, "Laridania, Lofindel," and he puts his hand upon the elf's shoulder and gives him like a reassuring look, and he says, "Godindalidel Quinea," which translates as "room for a few more swords."
He smiles broadly, and he says, "In times like these, always."
What do you know of their commander, if anything?
Almost nothing. They look to be from Umbar, and with a ship that size, I would think it must be a prince.
A princely ship?
We usually have more ships than this here. We recently sent 3 on a trade expedition to Mithlond. They have not returned, so either these ships went far enough out that they didn't bump into ours, or they hit them first.
Is there any way, and this may seem risky, but is there any way that we can draw this Leviathan closer, within range of any artillery that we have on shore? That way we can pepper them until we make our breach on board.
Possibly. My worry is that if a ship is that size, there must be hundreds, maybe even more warriors on board. I don't want them to step foot in this city. I don't want them to taint this city with their corruption.
Faroth looks to his comrades, and he doesn't feel entirely comfortable giving strategic advice to naval battles. He has seen the sea only once, and he has never fought upon it, and he doubts that any of his friends have. But he gives a look just to see if there are any if there's any input that the others would want to have before the battle commences on our part.
Cynric, I think, is staring out at that sea, still appreciating a sight that he has never seen before, and then that sight smashed by conquest and war and conflict immediately, by blood and war. He cannot escape it. He kind of just not even looking at you. His eyes still locked out in the conflict. Fire? Can we burn it?
They are using some sort of... I'm not sure what. There are rumors of a powder that they've made in the east that explodes when exposed to fire. If it's true, they're using something to power those machines. If it's true, then we need only get aboard and spark a fire in the wrong place.
Sounds like a expedition that would be a one-way voyage.
Perhaps. And he just does this like shrug, like that's a possibility.
Farrell looks to his friends again and he says, if the shadow lands on this shore, then all that we have wrought in the north will be for nothing either way. We must see this done.
And all our voyages sound like one-way voyages.
That's true. And Farrell smiles at Varagon. Bored. What do you think?
I think the enemy is cunning. And it is no coincidence that the shadow arrives here just now as we do. I think, should we succeed here, it would lend to greater prosperations later on down the road. But we need to hurry. And as he says we need to hurry, he looks to the right and there's this massive ship you were describing, Lloyd, that's being kind of moved out, about to be loaded into the sea, is probably the largest ship Board has ever seen. He's seen Rivercraft. I don't imagine he's been too far. He's been to Mirkwood, but he hasn't gone too far outside of his homeland. So he's just dwarfed by this thing and dwarfed in his own state of awe for a moment.
Glorfindel, to reach that ship will be a feat in itself. Is there anything that we can use to protect ourselves from incoming fire?
Good luck.
Isn't that always the way?
So it seems. Fortune has been on my side many a time in my long life, and hopefully it will stick with me for one more battle.
The wind is blowing from the south. I'm just inventing this, which is tilting that ship in one direction, which means that from what I can see, the explosions have less of a range. The tilt of the ship means they can fire less of a range in that direction than that direction, he says, pointing at the big black ship. If we approach from that side, we should be able to get in closer before we come under the range of their guns, or their range of their weaponry.
Cunning, Beleriand. Very cunning. Excellent. We shall do as you suggest. But we haven't time to tarry. Let's go.
Farrell just looks surprised over at Beleriand, but doesn't say anything, and he draws his sword.
Yeah. That was Kaya saying guns. I'm not.
Yeah, no.
Beleriand wouldn't know the way.
Cynric dismounts, puts his head to the dwarven face plate that Ciara wears, and like whispers a few Rohirrim words meant to calm, meant not to be hopefully their last goodbye, and that she will be looked after if they succeed. And he then pulls at the new dwarven shield he was given to replace the one that was ruined in that throne room, and upon it, perhaps he's tried his best, but it's he managed to paint the horse, the equine sigil of Rohan upon it. Looks a little out of place, perhaps upon dwarven steel, but it's what he has, what he was given. And then he steps aboard, perhaps uneasy for the first time upon a rocking floor, and he does not feel as confident as he does upon the back of CRO.
Yeah, there's a number of elves in the ship already, kind of like getting in position and grabbing oars, and you have several of them like pulling at ropes and trying to get the sails in the right position, things like that. It's all very, as you would expect, professional and exact. There's very little shouting. Everyone knows exactly what their duty is, and everyone does it to a perfect degree. Everyone works in perfect harmony and synchronization. Glorfindel stands at the front, the fore of the ship. Almost like, so it's like diagonal, and he's kind of like standing as if he's climbing a mountain almost. He's got his sword like thunk embedded into the deck, and he's like looking straight out. His hair glorious and silver flowing behind him, and with a hoo, the ship begins sailing out.
Bericon, just before you left, the last thing he did before he went on board the ship was he looked round for a non-combatant, and I think probably all elves to some extent are trained in war, so maybe a child. And he said, "I have seen too many things, too many works of beauty fall to the enemy. Here," and he hands the child the ring of Barra here. "If I come back, or if I don't come back, but my companions come back, return it to us as a sign of friendship. But if not, don't let it fall in the hands of the enemy. Throw it in the sea if the city falls, but do not let it fall into the hands of the enemy." And then I get on board the ship.
That's amazing. You could have inspiration, Caius. That's unbelievable. So a relic is safely stored, will not fall into the hands of the enemy, and you sail out. For some of you, probably the first time you've been on a boat, or certainly on the ocean, it is an odd feeling. You are in a box, it seems. It's a beautiful box. It's all curved white wood. It's beautiful and smooth and expertly made. But even so, there's a constant back and forth of waves, and then occasionally there's a poosh as it slams into a wave, and there's this like salty spray that smashes across you. They're rowing as fast as they can and as powerfully as they can. There are two elven women, one on each end of the ship, who have a drum each, and they're doing a very, very light sort of as you go, and the elves are in perfect sort of sync, rowing, and they're singing this elven song, and that seems to be what's keeping them all synchronized with the rowing. The speed picks up amazingly quickly, and these churning waters all around, and you can see now, as you kind of begin to get closer, this ship a little bit better. Much bigger than it seemed from the shore. It's enormous. It sits out of the water, maybe 20, maybe 25 feet. Huge masts strike up above it, and there's just this pall of smoke all around it. It's like acrid smoke. It doesn't smell like anything you've smelt before. Very, very odd. And that's where you're headed. It's slowly making its way towards the other elven ships, while most of the smaller corsair ships are dealing with those. One of them peels off and begins to sail towards you as quickly as it can. You can hear from them this like strange speech, like "Una, una," and then this like shroom, shroom of like Umbar corsairs rowing as quickly as they can. You can see a bunch of them are like hanging off the side from ropes from the mast, taking a look around and seeing. Many of them are like getting spears ready and holding them in their other hands as they approach very, very quickly. How are you taking this in, Board?
Board is trying to focus on the same spot on the deck of the ship while he's kind of clutching to the side of the deck. What do you call that? Kind of that edge rail. I don't know if it's these elves would have shields there, but I imagine it's very beautiful and very polished. He's clutching onto it and doing his best not to be sick, but he's in awe of this place. But more than anything, more than the ocean, more than the gargantuan ships, more than the battle beginning around them, he's in awe of the shadow being everywhere, just everywhere. This moment he had waited for forever, to see, not only see the ocean, to see the sea, but to touch it. He at the last moment, it reached out and touched him, and he is trying to gain his bearings before the fight starts, or he's going to make a fool out of himself, or worse.
Yeah, you have this flashback for a moment of touching that staff and seeing the eye and hearing him say, "I see you." And you feel now that he does, that he always does, that he never doesn't see you. He knows where you are. Almost always. You can hear this insane drumming coming from the big ship. There must be 50, 100 drummers on there. Massive drums that like you can feel it reverberate in your chest. And you can hear all this like shouting, and you can see there's dozens of men with flags kind of like making different shapes so that the other ships know what they're doing. And you can see whole crews of people around these siege weapons who are like pulling the ropes taut and the twine, and then another flaming rock heads back towards the city. 1, 2, 5, 10 of them towards the city, another 10 towards the elven ships. One of them into the water next to you, just barely missing. You could feel the heat as it sailed past you. And then there's just enormous splash of salt water that smashes you as it just barely misses you. You're maybe 200 feet away now from the big ship, but the Corsairs have almost caught up with you. Their ship is so fast. These little tiny, smaller than the ship you're in, but so fast, they're gaining on you very, very quickly. And you can see now that there's maybe 30 or so of these Corsairs on board, and a bunch of them get ready with spears, and they... Everyone make a deck save, please.
Oh, shit.
That's a 17 for me.
Oh.
16, yeah.
What'd you get, Caius?
9.
Okay, you're going to take 7 piercing damage. One of these spears like rips into your right shoulder and like pulls a bit of flesh with it as it sails past, and then thunk into the wood of the ship. And the rest of you can feel just these spears like sail past, and then you can hear this chorus of as they like hit either into the side of the ship or on the opposite side inside the ship. They all thunk into the ship, and the ship rocks just a little bit for a second, and then back down into the waves. The song is not interrupted, although you can see at least one elf has taken a spear. There's a moment of discord, but they manage to get it back together, and the harmony continues, and the simple drum beat continues. Although it's hard to hear now above the insane drumming and noise of the huge ship nearby. This Corsair ship is going to connect any moment now. Is there anything you'd like to do before that happens?
Pharos' eyes dart to Glorfindel, knowing his place in this chain of the command. This is an elven lord, a warrior of the ages, and should be consulted. First of all, he looks to receive his orders, essentially.
He would look back and say, "We cannot stop. We have no time. Repel them."
Pharos unshoulders his bow.
So they're coming very, very quickly. They're maybe 60 feet away. We're going to roll initiative.
Are they going to be at 60 feet away? Are they going to be on us in a round? The ships clash? Or...
On you and around, yeah.
Yeah. That is a good initiative roll. That is a non-natural 20.
Uh, 17 for me.
Can I during this journey have been making, like I did previously, some very rudimentary fire arrows, bits of cloth torn and attached to the base of the arrowheads. And
for sure.
Cool.
Would the elves have arrows for this kind of thing as well?
Yeah, you would think that basically everyone on this ship, while they're rowing at the moment, is also a combatant, you know?
Yeah. Perfect.
Okay. So the ship is coming at great speed, and you can see all these different corsairs, these crewmen, or whatever. They're all kind of ready, and lots of them are like holding onto each other's shoulders, and one of them's holding onto the ship itself, and they're all kind of like ready to like leap when the connection happens. But Cynric, you're the first to react.
I would try some sort of clever play, but like Cynric's never even seen a ship, so like he wouldn't know where to shoot. Like,
yeah,
particularly to hit like a guide rope that does this and does that and all the rest of it. At least like right now, perhaps. Maybe he'll learn over the course of this fight. But so I think he's just going to. Some people are hanging off ropes, you said, like ready to drop onto the ship as they clash. I think he's going to attempt to shoot at some of them instead. He's just bewildered by the sight coming towards him. So great bow drawn. I will. One of them is 18 on the dice. The other one is a 7. That's 7 plus 5 for 13 as at a minimum, and the other one is 20.
Okay, so 13 won't hit, but 20 definitely does.
Yeah, cool. I'm just having to like reevaluate everything because I'm not on a horse.
Yeah.
Who am I? Yeah, who am I? My identity. Oh, max damage on the dice, that shall help. Plus my 2 for dexterity, plus 2 for these being... Are these creatures of the shadow, like they are evil, or like they are enemy?
Yeah, they're men of the... like they're Umbar, which I think is Haradrim, like Wayne Rider's Easterlings. They're all swarthy in Tolkien's description.
So it's 10 damage or 12 if you believe them to be evil intent.
Yep, so the arrow just sails in one of these corsairs. You can see he's like shouting. He has no teeth in his mouth at all. And he's got this like vicious looking sort of axe in one hand. And he's like, "Rah!" And the arrow just catches him in the throat and he like falls into the water. Is that it for you?
Yeah, I think I would. That's the bow, and I would like put that away and hold on to something for when the ships clash. So not to be thrown overboard. I think he knows that much.
Yep. I mean, you can all see this ship is moving very quickly, and your ship is moving very quickly, and there's going to be a crash.
Yeah.
Beleriand.
Beleriand focuses on the most distinctive of them all, which he chooses to be the purple bearded corsair. In one fluid movement, he unshoulders his bow, pulls it back and releases, only realizing as he pulls it back and releases that he has lost his eye, and he cannot see. When he closes one eye to aim, as he often did in the past, he finds he's completely blind and loses it and gets a natural 1.
Oh wow. Amazing. Yeah, so it's just instinct, and you close the eye and then let go, and it just kind of sails almost straight up into the air and just like harmlessly into the water. You think maybe most people are looking at the boat and so nobody saw it. Then again, does Glorfindel miss anything? This purple bearded corsair who you were firing at, you can see that he's like holding on to the rope, and the boat is moving at such speed, and then there's just this tremendous crash. Deck saves, please.
Did I shoot anyone off the list, or was it just one of the spods?
You did, yeah.
Oh, one of the spears, probably, something.
A natty 20.
Because I held on, prepared. Do I get, like, a
I'll give
modifier?
you advantage. Go on.
Oh, thank God. Oh, God, that went from a 4 to a natural 20.
Excellent.
Preparation.
Okay, Board, you have never been on the sea before. You've never seen anything this large before. And I don't think you've ever had anything really knock you off your feet. Like, you're so large and so steady. And so maybe you think like it won't be that bad, but it's way worse than you could have imagined as this like ship crashes into the other one. You're like knocked off your feet, and you land with a thud against the end of the ship. You're going to take 7 points of bludgeoning damage as you smash in, and you're going to be prone as well. You can see a bunch of the elves are like knocked, but they all kind of are holding on to oars or holding on to something solid, so they don't go anywhere. Glorfindel doesn't even appear to like be rocked at all. He just kind of goes, "Yep, that's me done." Okay, the purple bearded corsair, as the ships collide, he like leaps, and there's maybe the second that they hit or whatever, but almost immediately afterward they start to drift apart. There's maybe 5 feet between where he is and where your ship is, and he just like leaps down, and he's going to try and land on you, Farath.
Oh no.
Okay. So he leaps down. He's got this this like axe in his hand, and he's going to basically like hack it into your shoulder. Ooh, for 10 slashing damage. If he does that, I'm going to need you to make athletics or acrobatics to not be knocked prone by him.
Let me just see quickly which one I have better. I'm pretty sure it's acrobatics I have better. Yes, okay.
DC is 16.
I get 16.
Okay, so he's the aggressor, so you will be knocked over.
Yeah.
So just barely, like you managed to almost catch him, and then he like hacks you in the shoulder with the axe, and then he like puts his foot behind your knee, and then like pushes you down onto the boat. You can see that he has this like purple dyed beard, dark skin, dark eyes, a hooked nose, this long black hair, sort of curly, and very oily as well. He's got all these different charms around his neck, and he's wearing this like strange sort of leather that you've never seen before, like very thick and oily. He's like right in your face, and he says something in some language that you don't understand, but you can tell it's an insult. It is your turn.
Yeah, the ship being smashed, and Faroth, so by some miracle, is able to maintain his feet, only to be connected by this this corsair. He is flown to the ground, and he lands on his back. And what he's going to do is he's going to try and use that momentum, spend half of his movement to roll back into a standing position. And in doing so, he draws the Flame of the North to make his 2 attacks. Now, I pre-rolled, Lloyd, if you don't mind, and the first one I'm pretty sure is going to miss with a 14.
Just hang on, because you are grappled. You're going to have to, if you want to, stand, you have to get out of that first. Or you can attack him with grappled, but you attack disadvantaged.
I'm going to try and break the grapple, actually, mate.
Okay.
Sorry, I forgot to do that. Let me see. And can I break that with acrobatics, or does that have to be with athletics? Acrobatics, then that will be a 19.
Yeah, you get out. He rolled a 3. So he's all about the initial charge, and once he kind of like gets there, it's clear that you're a superior fighter, and you're able to easily like move him aside.
Great. Now, does that breaking the grapple count as one of my attacks? I believe it does, doesn't it?
It's your action.
Oh, there we go then. I'm out of the grapple, and I'm going to use the rest of my movement to back up to get some space, and I'm sort of locked my eyes on his.
You can draw the sword still, though.
Yeah, you can draw the sword and everything like that.
Yeah, I do that then, yeah.
Okay. There is a shout, "Una, Unang!" And then spears once again from this boat fly towards you. On your deck save from everybody, please.
10. A resounding 10.
10.
Oof. So if you got below a 14, you'll be taking 5 points of piercing damage. 27. Beleriand goes invisible and flies 50 feet in the air. So another volley of spears. But in return, Glorfindel shouts in Elvish, and the elves on the far side, they all, like in unison, reach down, pick up a bow, pull an arrow, and fire. And there's this volley that fires into the corsair ship, and you can see like dropping like flies a bunch of these corsairs who are hanging onto the ropes, and they like into the water. One of them falls with like a sickening crack onto the side of their boat and then splashes into the water. The Toothless Corsair is dead, shot through by Cineric's arrow. Board, it's your turn.
Board has fallen over. The crash has happened, but I think that Board was in a one of the worst locations to be on the ship for that to occur. And once it knocks him down, once the ship moves up to meet Board, and he finds himself prone and beaten on the deck of the ship, he loses his great spear, goes somewhere. And at that moment, another spear is what collides with him on his shoulder. He's able to reach over and pull it out, and he sees this spearhead of the likes of which he's never seen before, but the pain is agonizing. He, in that moment, I think, will probably have to make a deck save of some variety to not go over the end, just because it's been so bad so far. And he reaches up to do anything he can to grab the ship itself to not go overboard, and I'll roll a 6.
Wow. Okay. So you're trying to figure it out, and you're pulling this spear out of you, and you're like standing up kind of shakily, and it's at that moment like the ships that have drifted apart are pushed together again by the waves, and there's another boom, and you are like knocked into the side of the ship, and you like reach back to like grab the side of the ship, but you're already over it, and the rest of you would see just Board drop into the salty spray.
Board's blood turns to ice. He's colder than he's ever been in his life, and he touched the sea.
You can have inspiration. The peg-legged corsair, who was not hanging onto a rope, he has this like grappling hook, and he funk, and throws it and like pulls it tight, and then he like swings his way across and climbs up. This is all during the sort of clash or whatever, and now he's like climbing over the side. He like looks around and he sees what he thinks looks like a king, which would be Cineric. Actually, I think probably looks more kingly in terms of his regalia and such than Faroth. And so he like sees that and he goes, "That must be the target," and he runs and tries to strike you down.
And dwarven shield.
Yeah. Okay, so he gets a 14 and a 19.
Even with my reduced armor from not being on a horse, the first one misses, the second one hits.
Okay. Only 4 piercing damage.
Like that.
So he rushes up. He's got like an axe in one hand and a little sort of shiv in the other, and he swings with the big axe. But you're easily able to block that. But as you do, he like brings the shiv up into the squishy part of your arm under here, and then pulls it out again. And he spits a curse again in some language that you can't understand. Okay. There's a enormously fat corsair on their ship. and he's like lumbering, and he like looks at the distance between where he is and the ship and thinks he's not going to make that. And so he goes to a part of the ship, and he picks up this little thing, a little clay pot, and he brings it to a brazier. He lights it, and then he throws it. It bounces. Dum, dum, dum. I will need all of you except for Board to make a deck save, please.
Are the enemies making a deck save because they're standing
Yes, they are.
with? Cool. Yep. We are. He doesn't care for his friends whatsoever.
No, he thinks that if he brings down this elven ship, then he'll get the glory.
12. Modest.
21, but I still think I'm going to get something.
Okay, so if you got above a 15, which all of you did, bar Cynric, you will take 3 fire damage. If you got Cynric, you'll take 5. 6, sorry, 6. But you're on fire, Cynric. It lands and it goes. Poof, there's like this explosion of like shrapnel of clay bits that like smash all around the ship, and you can see a couple of elves just like get these vicious cuts across their face or over their shoulders as there's an explosion. And there is a sort of sudden ball of flame. It must have landed right next to you, Cynric, and you can see that like some of the clothes you have are on fire. You will take 1 fire damage at the start of your turn until you take an action to douse yourself.
I'm quite concerned. The guy in front, like, that's easily done if I wasn't being shivved by a dude. How is the guy next to me?
Yes.
Looking.
Let's find out. So first we have Purplebeard. Purplebeard is on fire, just like you are. And then we've got Pegleg, who is on fire. So there's this big fire off that like ducks down to the deck, as does Beleriand. And these other two like weren't expecting it, and they like you can almost watch them like trail it, and like the bounces dunk, 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 doof, and their clothes go aflame. They're obviously wearing something oily, like deliberately oily for some reason, but they just go up with a woof. So they're both on fire.
Okay. It's my go now?
It is your go anyway, yeah.
So I imagine Cynric, like, he shot, and then he put the bow over his shoulder, and then held onto a rope, which is what saved him from going in as the ship lurched. And then, like, as this guy came for him, like, he realized that he got tangled, so he was, like, one arm up, as this guy was, like, running at him, and he was trying to fend him off and got shivved, and then he couldn't go anywhere as this bomb just, like, rolled probably quite close to them, and set them all ablaze. So now, somewhat frantically, as him and his combatants still burn, takes a full action to put out, right?
Yes. Yep.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, you are like in the ocean. So I would say normally it takes full action to put out, but I think there's probably enough water in the ship that you could make it a bonus. Like scoop some up in your shield and swap it on yourself. Okay.
So he's like frantically like pulls his arm free of this rope and doesn't I can't remember if he's ever been set on fire. I don't think so. He kind of like, I don't know. I'm just thinking, like, as an elven ship, there's probably isn't like uneven areas and puddles, or is there like bowels of water? Like, what do they even do on these miraculous crafts?
That's a good question. Yeah.
I think he kind of runs to the side of the ship that is like lurched closest, maybe, and like waits for some sort of wave to lap up and over, and uses that to help put himself out. So, I'll do that. I'll like move away, and I don't know if the guy will get an attack if he's too busy being on fire or not. But I will move away and put myself out on the edge of the ship, and then like turn, drawing my axe, and strike that guy.
Okay, he missed you with the opportunity attack. He's too busy screaming.
Sure. So Cynric just goes to the water. I'm not sure if I look over. Do I see where Board is?
So my understanding is
Between
that
the
he's on
ships.
the other side because
Right, you fell back.
they've all jumped, in this side, and then the ship is here, and Board was like at this side. He fell back and then over.
Okay. If I don't happen to see Board over the edge, then I will turn and head back to that guy who's on fire and try to strike down the flaming man.
Nice.
That is 18 and 19 to hit.
It's 2 hits.
And because I don't have... no, I will use my bow, so I can't have my shield, so I might as well use it two-handed. Just two-handing the axe. Because it does make sense to me. I've got it back out again. I think that's 16 damage and then 12 damage.
He is dead. So
Okay.
dead.
I stand for a moment, still shocked, like covered in salty spray and partially charred, and having hacked down a flaming man who's probably making a lot of noise. Looks for the next target, and that'll be mine. I'll go help. I'll go fight the purple beard guy, but I can't strike him.
There's just like chaos, and it smells like there's like this salty sort of tang and the sort of stink of seawater, but also like of burning like leather and burning like skin and hair, and like of sweat. It's just this awful scent of battle everywhere that you put your nose, and everywhere you listen as well. There's still that insane boom, 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 boom from the giant ship. And all these like cacophony of screams and stuff of commands, but also screams of people falling into the water and dying in great numbers. Beleriand.
Beleriand throws his bow away in disgust and looks around to get a sort of to see what's happening, to get a sort of bearing on what's going on. Will he notice Board's going over, or will he have seen Board go over?
I think you were standing at the far end because you were shooting, so I think you would have seen him go over. Yeah.
Okay. He'll shout, "Board, overboard!" And then he's out of the party. He's the one who's been on ships before. Not a lot. He hasn't got a lot of experience, but Gondor. He's read about the Sea Kings of Gondor in the of old. He's read about battles at sea. And he looks round to see if there are any ropes around to throw down to Board, so he can hopefully grab hold and pull himself up.
Yeah, there's there's rope kind of everywhere, but almost all of the rope is connected in some way to like the mast or the sail. So I would let you make an investigation or something to find one that is like not going to pull the sail up or down or anything like that.
Okay, I'll look.
Let's call it investigation.
It's fair enough. Yes, I mean I get high. I get a 19 or something like that.
Yeah, so you can find one that you think is like a spare rope or something that's tied directly to the mast, maybe for this exact purpose.
Mm-hmm. So yes, I throw him a rope so he can hopefully pull himself back on board, because I haven't got the strength to pull anyone that big. And then, assuming the rope is attached to the ship, and could anyone cut the rope? I'll guard the rope.
Yeah,
I'll guard the rope and ready in action. If anyone comes close, I'll be protecting myself. But is the rope my full action, or is it?
I think that would be your action, yeah.
Yeah.
You think that unless, like, the only way someone would cut the rope is if they went through Cynric and Faroth, Like,
okay.
They'd have to go through them.
Okay, then if we're sort of protecting the rope, then I'll take my place beside Faroth.
Okay, nice. The purple beard is the one who's still going. Yes, Pegleg died. So Purple Beard, he's on fire now, and you can see that his beard went up like. So obviously, whatever's in there, the dye or something must have been flammable, and he's like, and he's like slapping it out or whatever, and shakes, and you can see now that he's got this like kind of reddish, burnt face with no beard remaining, and he doesn't know what to do. He's had enough. He's in too much pain. He's on fire, and so he like climbs over the side of the ship, and he's going to jump into the water.
Did I get to him or just near him?
You wouldn't have gotten to him, I don't think.
Okay, that's fine.
Farah, you moved away from him, right? So,
So let me just explain something to you guys, because I've been pre-rolling so I can add my damage so I can make the fight faster. I swear to God, no word of a lie, I rolled 2 natural 20s for my next turn. So the fact that he is running away is really, really bugging me right now. 2 natural... 2!
He's the luckiest purple-less bearded man.
That would have been 51 points of damage.
Oh my God. Jesus. He's your nemesis now. You'll remember him forever. The burn
He's gonna
face
come back.
Corsair.
This is like that video game, that Middle Earth video game, Shadow.
Exactly. Oi, Ranger!
He'll come back with a scar or two, and
Yep.
you'll fight him in the rain.
So he like at the very last second leaps over, and Farath, you like swing this this strike that would have taken his head clean from his shoulders, and he swims away. I'm so sorry, Rob. That's such a bummer. I rolled a morale check to see if he would stay or not.
No, it makes sense. He's on his own. It makes sense. Oh my God.
Don't waste your 2 natural 20s. Turn on one of the allies.
Killing us.
He hurls himself at Baragon.
So it is your turn. Pegleg and Purplebeard are gone. Toothless is gone. So it's only the fat-bellied guy who's on their ship who remains. There's obviously other Corsairs and stuff going on, but like for your immediate sort of combat.
If you will allow me to whip a dagger at him and use that natural 20 to get the
Absolutely.
fat man. But
Yeah.
I'll just say one. I won't say both of them. Like, that's just too silly.
Okay, so give me some crit.
Yeah, if you would, that's
Crit
great.
dagger
Thank
damage.
you. What do you need, mate?
Just give me the damage for the daggers.
That is 7, 8, 9, 10. 10 points of damage.
Okay, I'm actually going to do it. So the dagger like sails across like almost perfectly, and I don't know, where does it catch him?
I like to think that he is sort of lurching back to try and get another one of those fire flasks, and he's putting the light to it, and then the dagger just goes straight through his hand, and it lights it in the wrong place, and the thing instantly explodes, blasting him into a million pieces.
Perfect. Yep, there's this huge explosion on their ship, and you can see a bunch of the like a fire breaks out because they have several more of these things on the ship, and there's like this chain of reaction. And the shockwave like knocks you down, and their kind of ship just like drifts then stupidly away from your own board.
Everything about this feels different than the rivers of Bord's homeland. His throat is in agony, his nostrils flaring. He thinks to himself, this is just like the Anduin. This is just like home. And so he sends himself back to some memory of him and a brother, both learning how to swim, and he opens his eyes and immediately regrets it. This is nothing like the Anduin. This is nothing like the river, and he's in horrible agony, and he looks up, and through the blurred vision, he barely sees a rope hit the water above him in the midst of this swirling maelstrom of ships. He feels pulled in every direction. It's very difficult to gain his bearings here, but he is going to try to swim upwards in all of this armor. And if he can't, he's going to try to take it all off and just send it to the bottom of the Great Sea.
Amazing. You can give me an athletics check, please. And I'm going to say it's going to be with disadvantage. I'm sorry, but you're underwater with armor.
I am underwater with armor. That makes sense. All right, well. I don't think you needed to give me disadvantage, if I'm honest.
You do have inspiration.
Armor does he wear? Like big hides and stuff? Or, like, really
Noble.
bad
I have
wounds?
noble heavy mail, which was
Oh.
gifted to me from Thranduil. Which I get. Sorry, I am 7 total.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
The rope is
Pulling
like
at the armor.
tantalizingly close, but not quite reachable.
He's just going to begin tearing at this armor. He begins pulling the armor off in the fastest method that he possibly knows, and as he's doing it, he is remembering each wound and each replaced ring in the mail that he sees the Prince of Mirkwood fighting alongside him as an orc arrow or a goblin arrow pierces there, and he has these memories as he's removing this armor, and even his axe and primary weapons off his back as it goes sinking, fading away forever to the bottom of the sea, and he reaches upward, at which I imagine, I don't know if I grab the rope, you tell me. Do I roll for that too?
Well, I'm going to stay in an initiative because just for now to see if they can get to you before you, because it'll take you, I would say, generously 3 rounds to take off the armor because it takes like 10 minutes usually. So, and like that would be you like ripping the armor and like whatever, like say as quickly as possible. So that's board. Cineric, their ship has exploded. And like you can see that there are kind of corsairs like trying to desperately swim away, like in the direction of the big ship. But none, like it's no longer a threat, that ship. It's like almost broken half in the middle, and you can see kind of like 2 halves sinking. What do you do?
So I like turn to look around with that guy retreating, and now like and maybe there's little fires still on the deck or something, but with the impact of that ship washing over him, there is like a moment of calm in the battle, and he kind of like looks around, and then like through maybe the or whatever, you can hear perhaps Baragon shouting about board overboard. This is more me interested. I have a corselet of elven mail, which surely isn't that heavy because it's elven and it's only like chainmail.
I would still say that it's chainmail. It's not like elven mail in the sense of like D&D elven mail, which weighs nothing. It's like just really finely made. You know what I mean?
Oh Jesus!
If it was mithril, I would say that it's really light, but it's not. It's still chain.
And it would take me the same amount of time to take it off.
Yep. I think it takes 10 minutes to doff heavy armor, I think.
Is it 10 minutes to put it on, but 5 minutes to doff? Because it's not heavy. I think I have medium armor.
Yeah. Well, 5 minutes, he'll still be drowned.
Yes. So I have to. Okay. I think these considerations. I think Cineric would have just ran and leapt, like dived, even though he's perhaps terrified. But otherwise, he drowns. I can't look it up, but I think it's medium rather than heavy armor that I have because I'm not like your warrior. But
take your action and then see what it is later.
Yeah.
Yes. So I mean, he sees that there is a guide rope up and over the thing of the prow of the ship, so he's not going to like leap into where there's no rope. So he is going to, he's going to run. Just see that he's gone overboard, and maybe like Beleriand is pointing like to where that rope is, and I'm going to try and run, follow the rope, and then jump over. Like
yes. Anyway, gone. I don't know if Beleriand would have kept pointing out the rope. He'd have just assumed the board would have made it, but
okay.
But possibly you noticed the first time he shouted board overboard.
Okay, and that so I can run to the edge, perhaps where the rope is. Look down, see that there is no board, no rope, and he in a split second. It's his goal to keep everyone alive through this, and he will probably steel himself, maybe as scary, if not scarier than facing off the Black Numenorian. He'll just hold his breath and jump over.
Okay.
So I go to enter, plunge relatively near where that rope is, or maybe try grab out for it. If you think he can hold onto it as I go into the water, he will. I'll try that. But
Yep, I think you could. I think you could like grab it and then jump over.
yeah, I imagine the rope burns are horrific, but he'll do that and go plunging in and then try grab onto the rope and then be in that weightlessness and in that maelstrom, and he will attempt to find the tearing giant, the frantic giant in the sea.
All right, Beleriand.
Beragond, I'm presuming I'm aware of what's going on around me, that Cynric, that the rope hasn't sort of tautened up and that Ward is still in danger. Beragond spurs into action and cuts one of the smaller of the rigging ropes that comes from the top of one of the longest ones. No. Oh wait. He'll try and spot a long rope up on one of the beams across coming out from the mast. He'll, activating his elven boots, he'll run up the mast to a place where he's got some height above the water, run out and see if he can see boards form underneath the sea, and if there's a rope around, he'll just attach a rope to his leg or just grab the rope and dive and hope that the momentum of diving from a height will take him down to where board is with his rope.
Okay, make me a perception check, please.
Right. Can I just add? I've got. Can I just tell you? I've got the ability. I'll just see if this helps me. Beginning at 7th level, your sharpened senses immediately alert you to dangerous situations. Whenever a lawmaster would normally make a passive wisdom to check or notice a trap. Oh no, it's something different. So, okay.
Okay.
So it's what did you say? Perception.
Perception, please. Yeah.
How many eyes are you perceiving with?
17
perception.
Oh yes, I'm at disadvantage. So let me see.
Sorry.
Oh,
not a team player, man.
No, that's fine. 5, but I'm going to use my inspiration for that, which brings it down to a 2.
Wow. Okay. So you get to the top, you like climb up with amazing speed, and you like get this ready, but then you look and all you can see is like the sort of foam from where Cynric had jumped in.
Yeah.
And it's impossible to see where Cynric is or where Board is. It's just like frothing waves and madness. You can't see anything.
Yep. That makes sense.
Farath.
Faroth sees that look in Cyneric's eye, and a look that he's recognised. It's the mist that falls before his gaze before he charges upon Ciaro, and he sees that look and he goes, "No, wait!" As Cyneric makes the charge and jumps in before Faroth can stop him. Such is the initiative, and so Faroth just hurls himself to the balustrade, and he leans over like as if to try and find them. Can't see them, and then thinks to himself, Is it madness for him to dive in as well? I think it is. And he turns his gaze to the colossal ship that they're still approaching. What's that situation, Lloyd?
So this has all happened in a matter of seconds, you know. So like that other ship has just exploded, and like Cyneric, like literally the second that happened, like leaps across and whoosh, in, and you turn around, you see Baragon like running up the mast, and then it's your turn to go. So your ship hasn't moved yet. But that big ship has. It's like very, very close now to the other two elven ships. You think you're probably 200 odd feet away from it.
be no good at all if they're not alive to get there. So instead, what Farrell is going to do is he is going to grab onto that rope, but he's not going to jump in. What he's going to do is lower himself down the side of the ship, ready to try and scoot them out and help pull them back onto the deck if they emerge. He's going to wait for a while, and if they don't surface, then I guess that'll be his next turn.
Okay. Bored. You are desperately trying to tear off the clothing and maybe trying to rip open your chest so that you can breathe. There's just salt in your nostrils, salt in your mouth, and darkness everywhere. But you can see this, or I guess you would feel it more than anything, like a poof, and you would see that there is a body above you descending downwards.
He would do everything he can to move towards that body, that figure, but he feels like he can't control it. He's being pulled under by his armor. Do you want me to... I don't know how you want to do drowning, if that's a thing that you want to do now, but like a saving throw of some variety that I might make?
I don't think yet. It's only been
Okay, cool.
2 rounds, which is 12 seconds, and you can definitely hold your breath for that long.
Nope.
Board can. He's got a good constitution.
He has a real bad asthma.
But I will let you make an athletics check. I would make a disadvantage, but because Cynric is trying to help you, you can make it normally.
Oh, well, it doesn't matter. Cynric, you see the form of Board just slowly fading away from you. And you see a 4 appear above his body.
Jesus.
No, you don't. It's rough. It's rough.
Okay, so Board falls further down into the depths. Cynric.
Right, so what? The rope would have been floating on the surface. Now that I've brought it down some manner of feet below the surface as I hang off this, looking at him, do I have an further slack, to swim down? Not that I've maybe ever attempted to swim before. But maybe I'm sinking because of the armor. So
You're definitely sinking because of the armor. There is a lot of slack in the rope.
Right. Okay. So sorry, you go.
No, you go. I'm sorry. I'll type it.
So because Board is trying to struggle to get up, I know he's not doing very well. But I plunged from a great height with my armor, and I'm also sinking. I'm just going to try and gain on him. I don't know how far a distance I can frantically flail myself closer to him, but I will try gain on him and get to him while holding onto the rope as long as there is slack.
So I think because you're not trying to go up, you're trying to go down, it's actually very easy to do that. And so you can make an athletics check, and it won't be with disadvantage because you're trying to go further into the water.
Okie dokie. Luckily, Cynric is very strong. That isn't 19.
Okay, so you have this rope maybe wrapped a few times around your arm, and you leap in, and you just will yourself down, and maybe you're kicking your feet. You're basically upside down, and just thrashing with everything you have to come a little bit closer. And as you kind of open your eyes in the sort of briny depths around you, you can just vaguely see the outline of Board, who is slowly floating downwards. He's not quite unconscious yet, but you can see that he's maybe given up. It's hard to tell, but you can see him, and you can touch him. You can grab his foot.
Yeah, so I get his foot around his ankle, and at that point, that was the extent of his plans. To get there, and now he has got there, and now he sort of realizes he's probably fallen off a horse into the Anduin or something, or a shallow part of it at some point. Now he realizes he doesn't really know beyond just trying to get back up this rope, but he doesn't know how much slack there is on it or anything like that. But he's going to, in the ensuing turns, perhaps try pull at this incredibly heavy man and get up the rope at the same time.
Okay. Beleriand.
Beleriand doesn't know what's going on beneath the water. He's trying to there's sort of water running down his eyes and things like that. He can't see this foam and things spraying across. He's just trying to get some sort of indication of his friends underneath the water, and he'll climb up higher, assuming they've gone down further. He'll need more of a he'll need more momentum to carry him down if he's going to catch up them. So he'll climb as high as he can up the mast and still be looking out for. He'll be looking out for where the rope went in and see if there's any sign of them where the rope went in.
Yeah, you would see that the rope, like, initially was like, you know, the way a rope would like uncoil like really quickly, but then it would come to a slower sort of unraveling, and you would guess that, I don't know, something's happened.
I'll just watch then for now.
Okay. Farah.
Sorry, Baragon, was that another thing you wanted to do before I do my...
No, that's
okay,
fine.
just checking. So Faroth is actually hanging on to that rope. Does he feel it go taut?
I don't think taut. It would have slowed how quickly it was unraveling. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but there's two guys with armor like holding it. I thought maybe that's fair enough. Okay. I guess the only thing you can do is he's gonna.
Right, yeah, it's like, so if you're holding a part of it, definitely it would go taut. But I thought it was just like a loose coil on the ship, so that bit would definitely just be unraveling. But if you were holding a part of the rope, then it definitely would go taut.
Oh, sorry. I thought the rope. I for some reason I assumed that it was tied onto a part of the ship. In that case, Faroth is in that case going to hurl himself back over the balustrade, and he is just going to grab hold of the rope. And if he feels any kind of tension in it whatsoever, he's going to do his best to try and begin hauling, despite the fact that there are two guys wearing armor at the end of this rope.
You can make me a athletics. It is tied to the mast,
yeah,
but there's still slack. You know, is the thing.
Okay, he's going to do an athletics, and at the same time, he will expend the oxygen in his air, yelling "Beleriand" as he attempts to do it. Oh God, that is not great. That is a 14.
Yeah, so you're like pulling, and it's like trying to push your way through a wall. It's just nothing's happening. You're like pulling, but it's pulling you closer, and you've got like your 2 feet up against like the vertical side of the wall, and you're just like pulling as hard as you can.
But wait, Faroth, you're doing this, and you think about the people that are at the end of that rope. You're thinking about Board. You're thinking about just the short time we've been serving together and been adventuring together, and you see my face, you see Cineric's face, and I give you my point of inspiration to re-roll.
Oh my goodness me. He sees all of these faces. He knows what he must do. Come on. That is much better. That is a 19.
It is much better, but I don't think it's enough to lift two very, very heavy men and heavy armor.
I thought if I just said it in that way, you might...
Could it slow their descent, though?
It could slow it. I don't think he's able to pull you any closer to the surface, though.
Sure.
Like, I gotta think that's like a lot of weight, like really a lot.
It's in these moments I'm reminded we're in Lloyd's Middle Earth, not
Yep.
necessarily.
just throwing in though that it is against water. They're not free falling.
Sure. Yep. No, for sure.
Also, there is an elven crew that could help at any time.
Somebody call them.
Yeah,
shout,
help! I don't know.
If Baragon can reply
in a panicked way, hold him into a rope.
Like, shout at them. Because I think Glorfindel's actually better at this kind of thing than Baragon.
A bunch of them get up from their posts and like grab parts of the rope. They grab Faroth and begin to pull, and pull and pull and pull, and you get a crew of them. And I'll let you roll again, Rob. This time with advantage.
Well, we can go to the next round if you want, as they gather up. But I was just saying that people might pay attention.
Up to you, Lloyd. I don't mind.
Is it already?
No, okay, we'll go to board.
Yep. Okay.
So I'm sinking in the sea.
Is this your three rounds though? Have you torn off your armor at this point?
I don't know. And actually, the last thing I imagine that this whole situation is overpowering Board, because if he's fading away and it kind of looks like he might have given up, then maybe he breathed in some of this water. So it's just been it's more than just holding his breath. He didn't really get a warning. He just got dunked in the water. So yeah, I would imagine he's always trying to take his armor off, and at any moment that I can attempt to do that, then I would.
Your ankle's also been grabbed.
It has. It absolutely has. And I have Bjornings don't have like monkey feet. I can't grab him back, right? That'd be a little weird. He doesn't do that.
But it might kind of like give you some hope, so you could potentially make an athletics if you like.
Yes, awesome. Actually, it's that moment where he opens his eyes again. I got a 13 total.
It's not a 4, which is good.
It's true. It's not a 4.
So you're able to arrest your descent somewhat. You like at least you're beginning to like kick and like splash your arms around in the hopes of like arresting the fall that was happening. Cynric.
Is there any way I can try and like pull him up to the rope? Like, if I don't think about moving myself up, if I can get him up, even upside down, like to the rope, so he could grab onto it, and then maybe we can hurt. Because I don't think I can climb this and pull him at the same time. So I need to make them meet.
So athletics check, please.
Right. That was a 5, but I'm going to use this inspiration that I've hung on to for many, many episodes to get that up to a 17.
Okay, so you're able to like. I definitely think you have the wrapped around you, and you like grab the ankle and then like the knee, and you're able to like slowly pull him up and get him to the point. Guide his hand to the rope, basically. Yeah.
And I did take a breath. I did have a chance to go in, so I'm not. I don't think. I know it's painful and confusing, but I'm not in as bad a state as he is, obviously. And I'm going to try and push him upwards.
Okay. So that was Cynric. You've got him onto the rope. You're trying to push Beleriand.
Beleriand, looking at them struggling against the rope and thinking, if they can't manage it, my puny strength isn't going to help here. And then he's suddenly struck by a little bit of inspiration. He runs to the opposite side of the ship and looks round to see if there's an anchor.
There is an anchor.
Then he'll attach. He'll take the rope that's attached to the anchor, and without releasing the anchor, I'm guessing the anchor's somehow supported or attached to the side of the ship.
Yes.
He'll run with the rope that's attached to the anchor and tie it to the rope that's going down underneath the waves down to down to the others, and attach it. So there's basically the anchor on one side and them on the other. And if I'm able to do it this round with my dash, with my bonus dash to get back, I'll go back and try and drop the anchor over one side, so the weight of the anchor will hopefully more than balance their weight and pull them up.
Okay, so I don't think you'll be able to do all of that. You can definitely tie the rope together, tie the rope from the mast to the one to the anchor. But I don't think you'd then be able to go and drop the anchor.
Yeah.
But you can definitely Farath, you would see Beleriand running around like a maniac and doing this, and I think you would follow the line and see what the plan is. Genius idea, Kai, so you can have inspiration again.
Absolute genius. And those are the words that flash through Farrell's mind as he sees that all that remains to do then is to release the anchor, correct?
That's it.
So he dashes across to the other side, sword back in its sheath, and he basically, with all of his might, looses the lever required to send this anchor into the depths, redraws his sword, ready to cut the rope so they don't get dragged off to the other side of the ship.
Oh, that would be fun.
He's getting ready. He's getting ready to cut the rope.
So you drop the anchor, and there's this like it splashes beneath, and there's like this. Cyneric and Board, you would just be like holding onto this rope, and you would feel this immense tug as you're just like suddenly moving very, very quickly up to the surface, and then you can see light, and then out, and you can take a breath finally as you like fling up and like are smacked into the side of the boat, and then like over the side. At which stage, Faraz is going to try and cut that rope. Please give me an attack roll.
Can Baragon try to?
Oh god. Oh no.
Oh god, come on. That is an 18 on the die.
Okay, and give me some damage.
Oh god.
This is wonderful. This is so perfectly tense.
Oh
This
my
is great.
god.
Yes.
That's almost minimum damage. Hang on. That's
The craftsmanship of the elves.
it's not against the shadow, so I lose a whole bunch of bonuses. So that is
Damage
the
rope,
does
be
not
more
belong to
evil.
the shadow. Hang on.
Shadow rope.
7 points of damage. Oh my
you're
god.
so close. Dong! And it's like taut, and you're like you cut maybe like 2/3 of the strands, and you can see them like beginning to like pull apart. But even so, the anchor is pulling, and they are being like pulled across the ship. Cyneric has his arm like wrapped around that rope, and you can see the two of them just being like dragged over the side and like across the ship.
Board can let go, but I might not be able to.
I don't think you would be able to. No.
Yeah. Can I just say the
You're in
transition?
control of Board. You could drop Board. Sorry, go ahead.
No, after all of that, I was just saying the transition of like the slow motion and I imagine the hair floating around in the water, and the franticness and the burning, and then like there's like a moment where I see like Board's face as I guide his hand to the rope, and there's this hope, and then like I begin to start pushing him, and it goes very suddenly from that slow motion in a world of torment and fire and burning lungs to then just being hoisted out the air at high speed and into the side of a ship. That must hurt a lot, but
it's such a shock as well to go from, like you say, the slow motion silence of under the water to the boom 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 up again, and fire and explosions and screams. You come up, Farath tries to cut through the rope, is unable to do so in one go. And Cyneric, it is your turn.
it's Board's turn first. It's last.
Board, it's your turn.
Board is going to whatever energy he has currently, he's going to use it to let go, and he's going to roll along the ship's deck and hit some edge and come to a complete stop. But he won't be able. He doesn't have probably the resolve currently to stand up and brush himself off yet.
Yep, no problem. It's like a bowling ball to boom into the end. Okay, Cyneric.
I'm just being dragged along by my arm, like arm first across like the bow of the ship and aiming for like the balustrade. I imagined I divested myself as I was running towards the thing, so I didn't have extra weight. Like the axe goes down and the bow goes down, and like I just jump over. Like so, I had time to divest myself of items before diving in. I mean, do I have some sort of side blade knife thing through all of our adventures, or?
I would definitely say you have a dagger. Yeah, you are moving at like
high speed.
High speed.
I don't know. Like I can either try and like undo the tangle at high speed, or I try cut the rope at high speed. I'm not like. I don't really know what else I have as an option.
The arm.
Or the arm, yes. I am going to try like pull the dagger, elven blade or otherwise, from my boot or something, and try in one moment just to grab onto the rope, pull myself a little further forward to give me like a moment to swing and cut the rope above my. Again, it's an elven rope. cut the rope above my hand so I don't
Okay.
cut my own arm off.
Go for it.
12 plus
Yep, that hits.
7. So I'm using this rolled max damage on the D4, so that's 4 plus my strength of 4 plus 2 because I'm dueling. I'm technically single-handed using a weapon, but
that technicality is what saves you.
I'm very good at using a weapon in one hand, apparently.
So you've got this thing wrapped around you, and you're like sailing across the thing. You pull out the knife, and you just like desperately hack at it, and it frays enough of the strands are cut that your weight, along with the pulling, separates the rope, and you fly as well, much like Board, although further into the ship. You like whack into the side of the ship. I'm gonna give you some damage for that.
Sure, the whole escapade.
Yep, you're going to take 8 bludgeoning as you like smack into the side of the ship, and the whole thing that just happened. And there's like a boom, and then the anchor just like splashes underneath, forever gone with the rope cut. It goes underneath, and the anchor is gone from the ship. And there's a moment of.
Yes. I have all the wind knocked out of me. As yet again something heavy hits me after trying to save Board's life. I'm just I lie there bedraggled and salt everywhere and stinging the eyes, and feel like I've probably broke something. Just coughing up.
Glorfindel sees that you're both on board, and he says, "We have them! Go!" And the oars begin, and the drums begin, and you make your way quickly towards the giant ship. We're going to take a quick break there, and go to the little girls' room, and then when we get back, we're going to try and board that enormous ship.
Excellent.
Amazing thinking, Caius. Good job. I think you saved us there.
And created a really cool moment. That was awesome. Really awesome roleplay.
Right, I have returned. Whew, that was much more dangerous than I anticipated it being.
Yeah, Board gets himself into trouble. I've already lost like a third of my health.
Yeah, I kind of wanted that to be like, oh, there's a little thing going on, like a little skirmish before the big thing, but it became this huge thing.
We blow everything out of proportion. We're just drama queens
Big time.
of Middle Earth.
That was definitely one of those moments.
Yep.
It doesn't feel like it was.
It wasn't one of the most stylish ones, but still.
No, it's not feeling very glorious at this point.
Absolute nutter.
Coming from the man who jumped off a mountain.
Yeah, all right.
Yeah. I figured it's like he would act quickly, and he's only just saved board again or before, and it's all about instinct, and he doesn't really clock the danger, which is why he just ran and jumped.
Yeah. Also, you didn't know what the sea was going to be like.
No.
Yeah.
Like, you might be fine. You might just be chilling out down there.
Or that it's kind of bottomless, which you wouldn't really expect if you've been around rivers or whatever. Like, it's comparatively so deep.
That's why I had that moment where he like gets to the end of the rope and he's in the sea now, and he's like, "Oh,
there's more."
I didn't think this all the way through.
It is the polar opposite of what your character is used to. Obviously, we're all not very used to the sea, but you're used to ground beneath your feet and sweeping grass seas rather than those of water.
Yeah, that's why I really was very keen on him to hold on when those ships come in, because I think that's what he would do. And that's why he like had his arm caught, because he was just over enthusiastic in trying to keep on this ship.
It was just a belter though. That was a great thing that happened there.
We've spent all our inspirations saving him. I've had that one for a long time.
Yeah. And we've still got to go and fight the huge ship.
I like the idea that Glorfindel basically hadn't moved in the entire encounter, just perfectly stood in one place. We have them, go! Onwards.
It was like, they can handle that.
Yeah,
I imagine killed his fair share, yes.
Yeah.
Dude was like the best fighter, wasn't he, Glorfindel? Like,
he's one of the best. Yeah,
unquestionably one of the best.
Yeah, he they sent him back, like he died, and they sent him back.
Oh, really? I didn't know that.
Yep.
Like a Gandalf job.
Kind of, yeah, but he's an elf, so it's super unusual. He's the only one, I think, who like returns.
What got him? Was it a Balrog?
Yeah, he was
he fought Balrog, didn't he?
I think he fell in like Gondolin when that all fell in like the first stage.
That was it. I didn't realize this was Gondolin. This used to be where Gondolin was, man. Like that blew my mind.
Area, there was like a whole country here, but then in that war to end all wars that happened at the end of the first stage, all of Beleriand like sank basically beneath the waves, and the connection between this one, Arda, is that what it's called? No, Valinor. I don't know.
I know what you mean.
That one and Middle Earth, like that connection was severed.
Yeah. Oh, it is Arda. Yeah, you're right. Whew. How are we looking for health, guys? Like, how are we looking for like getting through the next?
I've lost like a third of health. From
see, I'm holding off using royalty reveal. We don't have any other means of healing now, do we?
Nope, not really. Unless there is an elven healer somewhere on this ship.
I don't think so. I'm saving it for like the right time when like we can get the health and I get the attack bonus. You know, that's like the best time to use that.
Yeah. It doesn't make a lot of sense while your friend is like coughing up water on the deck. You're just like, aha, my blood.
Binarion.
Why are you shouting on this shit?
You can barely hear for the water in your ears and your own Rohirrim hair in your face. Oh my god. This has been such a shit show. This did not go how I thought it was going to. I thought, all right, we'll dispatch this little shit first and we'll be badass. But we got battered by them. Absolutely battered.
I didn't really take that much damage from anyone combating me. It was mostly, being hit by spears, like firebombs thrown at me, and then... Ooh, that's not me.
What is that?
Get some major feedback going on here.
Let's see if it's me. Hang on.
No, I think it was Gaius.
Guys.
Am I back? Can you hear me?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Good.
There was some feedback.
Ah,
Okay, seems to be gone.
and now?
No, it seems to be all right. Okay, so Board and Cyneric, you're each going to take a level of exhaustion from almost drowning. As you like try and recover your breath and try to recover the idea that you're still alive, because I think Board really might have considered being dead. It's kind of shocking, and there's no time to recover. Immediately, you have to be back on your feet. You are closing in on that ship so quickly. And although you can still kind of hear the elven song, it's drowned out by boom, 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 enormous drums. As you get closer, you can actually see, like, up above. This ship looks like a building in the sea. It rides so high, and you can see up above there's like 4 enormous drums, like bigger than a horse. And there's these men who are like doing this like intricate sort of drum routine to keep the drums going at all times. You can see that 2 of the smaller Corsair ships have been destroyed, and the elven ships on that side are doing all right, although you can see that there's just this sort of reddish pall around the battle site there. But you're approaching this big ship very swiftly. Any thoughts?
I think on the approach, at some point when they have mildly recovered, that Cyneric and Board are standing like shoulder to shoulder, only his shoulder's a bit higher than mine, and just dripping like onto the deck. And there's just a silence as they both look at their ship coming up to them. And Cyneric just goes, "Try stay on this one."
Board says, he looks to Cyneric and kind of chuckles and says, and fastens the last straps of his armor, and he just says, "It stays on from here on out."
Faroth is going to walk in front of you both, and I think maybe he actually was the one to help you get to your feet, maybe grabbing you by the belt board and like brushing you off and stuff, and sort of grabs your face like upwards. Obviously, you're much taller than him, in his hands, and he gives you like a slap to make sure that you're focused, you're there. And with that remark, he then turns to look at the approaching vessel.
Da-da-dum, bum, bum, bum. Boom, 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 boom. Drones from this ship, this awful sort of industrial, just terror. These horns, boom, 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 all the time. So loud. You can feel it shaking your chest as your ship, which is not small, pulls along next to this one. You can see that there are these sort of windows built into this ship that like open upwards like this, and all these Umbar warriors like poke their heads out and they throw like rocks and spears and axes and all sorts of madness down towards you. The elves now have like taken themselves off the oars, as there's only one way you're going, and are like pulling up along. One side have taken the oars away and pulled them in so that they don't snap when you connect. And they've like grabbed shields and stuff to protect the ones who are still rowing. And there's just like this of various projectiles like hitting down, and you can hear like all these shouts in this foreign language that you cannot understand. And you can see them getting ready. One of these windows is bigger than the others, and out comes what looks like an enormous bow, but sideways. The string is like pulled back, and there's a spear that is meant to be an arrow, I suppose. Maybe you've never seen anything like this before. And then there's like a "Una!" and it fires a ballista shot. Past you, all of you, and smashes into the mast. Cuts right through it. There's this as it like falls over to the side, and there's like a massive splash. And I need all of you to make a dex saving throw, please.
21. I don't want to go back in the water.
22. I'm out of there.
I'm very pleased to have it be the proud owner of an 18.
Good man. Finally.
Yeah.
Okay, so you're all able to like move aside quickly enough and grab onto something before the mast like rocks the boat really dramatically. A couple of elves are like flung overboard. But the momentum is useful. And you see Glorfindel like time it, and as the ship goes, he just leaps and like grabs part of the wood and is climbing, as are several other elves. We're going to do a skill challenge to get you on top of this boat. So I would say skill-wise, I have it somewhere. Selected ones that are allowed. There's always a discussion, and it doesn't have to be. So you can choose any of these. If you have an idea for another skill that makes sense in trying to get on to the ship, then let me know. We will start with Faroth.
So Faroth is also waiting for the right moment to make the leap. And he wants to draw quite a lot of attention to himself. He doesn't want to be stealthy. He wants to draw fire to him with him boarding. So he's going to leap with an acrobatics.
Okay, go for it.
That is 16.
Okay, that's good. So you see Glorfindel do it, and then as the boat continues to rock, you wait for the next upswing, and you leap with like one of these specialized grappling sort of hooks that the elves have given you, and you can like dig it into the wood with a rope behind. Okay, nice. Who's next?
Baragon, do you want to do something?
There's this huge ship is rocking in the waves, and the other ship, the elven ship, is pushed between it. And as the sort of ships are pushed towards each other, there's a slap of waves just slapping up the side of the big ship. And as the foam flies up, sort of creating mist and blocking out view, Beleriand jumps onto the other side with his spider climb activated, and just uses the cover of the foam and the surging water to cover his slipping up the side of the ship and hiding, just clinging onto the side of the gunwale just underneath the hull, so where people can't see him.
Excellent.
Stealth.
Perfect.
And he gets a second. Well, a 27.
Just about.
Huh.
Okay. That is something Beleriand is surprisingly good at. Who's next?
We both have disadvantage on this, so choose your best, and I'll just struggle with what's left. He's going to attempt to try and help you, basically, even if it means it takes a while. So go for it, Barco.
Okay, great. You got it. Sorry. I think that orcs and goblins are easy. These are near bestial creatures, easy to sway, clan-like, and they breed quickly. And Sauron, the Dark Lord, can make them powerful. But men have to choose this. And you see this fury in Bord's eyes as he stares at this monolith of enemies in front of them. And he has but a hand axe in one hand left. It's got, excuse me, sorry. I'm a little bit sick. It has the symbol of the green leaf on one side and the symbol of the bear, the roaring bear, on the other, to symbolize the alliance between Thranduil and Bjorn. and he grabs a really awful, rusted, just iron and wood, like Bowie knife off the, I don't know, some ship or out of some crate, and he jumps onto the monolith and begins with abandon moving up this thing, attacking enemies as they come very recklessly. And as soon as I can approach someone, I will attack them. I'm not sure how far up they are.
Yep, if you're just going to give me a check, and then you can narrate yourself throwing people out windows and whatever else.
Excellent. Well, I'm since I'm using reckless attack, I can attack with advantage, but all enemies attack against me with advantage as well. So he's climbing up towards that massive bow.
Okay. So you need to make me a skill check, if you don't mind.
Yes, I just rolled it. That I'm choosing athletics to do the climbing, and so that's 16 total.
Yep, no problem. So you like leap and attach yourself, and you begin the climb. You can see occasionally like these people like stick their heads out of these windows or whatever, and they've got like things to throw and throwing down at you. But you are fairly well attached at the moment. Okay, and Cineric.
So this time, like he probably again grabs quite hard onto the ship as it rocks, and where other people use that as an advantage, he just clings, and he watches as one friend and then another all start their different paths up this ship, and he studies as best he can. He's getting especially familiar with ropes and rigging, and he's going to try use, I don't know if it would be like insight or survival to try like plot the easiest path up the ship with the most ropes and rigging.
Yeah, we'll call that insight.
Insight. And that is a 7.
Okay. So you're looking, but it's just kind of mental. There's chaos. All these elves have like leapt across, and they all have their own ropes and stuff. Many of them are bringing ropes with them as they jump, and you can see your friends like bringing ropes with them as well as they go. Although Beleriand is nowhere to be seen. It's just madness, and these windows keep opening, and people are throwing rocks and knives and axes down, and you can basically constantly hear like as like somebody splashes down into the water. And it's very hard to gain a sense of what the best path is. Okay, we'll go back to Faroth. Another check, please. Can't be one that's been made already.
One that hasn't been made already.
Yeah, or insight, because that's been failed.
I'm going to go for survival. That hasn't been used yet, has it? And I'm pretty good at survival. Yet. Let me see. Okay, that's 18 in total. So the way that Faroth is doing this, it is straight up Shadow of Mordor, him climbing up this the side of this ship, and he can see that he is going to have to use all different elements of this environment if he's going to reach the top of this thing. So he can see the enemy thrusting daggers and rusted short swords and cutlasses through these holes to try and grab hold of him. And instead he moves out of the way and grabs onto their limbs, and is using that to try and hurl himself up as well. You can feel like the snap of a limb or two as he puts his whole weight against them.
Ooh, great. Nice. So that's overall 5 successes, which should be enough. So Cineric, you figure out a way to get on the ship. You tell me.
So I, in the chaos and the everything in the rocking, like he's trying, and due to the shaking of the ship, like he can't get to the bits that he wants to, and then like a bolt will crash into the like where he's just standing, or he'll have to dodge a javelin. But like as more and more of the elves are making it up, more and more guide ropes are going up, and eventually he is assisted by one of these ropes, and an elven hand and a friendly face as it pulls him up the side of the ship.
Finally, you all kind of make it onto the deck itself, and it's just mad. It's a castle. There's hundreds of people on this deck. The drums are so loud that you don't know how anyone can hear anything, like how they're giving commands to each other, how they're communicating. You can see that there's like this team of people like spread out along the side of the ship who have like various colored flags. They seem to be moving in different ways that are giving commands, obviously. Some sort of like cryptic Eastern magic that they're using to communicate. And there's just the non-stop boom, 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 boom. It actually starts to make you feel a little bit sick. It's so loud. There are teams up here who are like on these big siege machines, and you can see that like they're working as hard as they can to like get them reloaded and pulling back this enormous twine with like wheels, and like putting a spear in there and then firing. Even catapults up here on the ship with like flaming rocks heading towards the city. Take a brief look back towards the city, and you can see that there are fires all over it and smoke rising all over from the bombardment of this vessel. Glorfindel is cutting a swath through some of these people who stand in his way. He can see at the top there's a captain, there's a cache of barrels, and this captain doesn't have the dirty look of the rest of them. He actually looks very imposing. He has this suit of armor that almost looks like what the Black Numenorian would wear. Not quite as fine, not quite as heavy, but it's sort of an ancient style, an ancient design, you can tell. He has two swords kind of at his hips, and he's kind of like watching very calmly, and he can see you land on the ship, and you would see him like turn to the side and whisper something to another man who like bellows something, and then all these people start moving. You move with Glorfindel to like the foot of the stairs that leads up to that captain, and he turns with his elves. Get up there and finish him. We'll hold here as long as we can. Go.
Varel just looks him in the eyes and he just says Gluck, and he turns and leads the charge.
Board follows.
Cynric, hefting his axe, and the dwarven shield is now very ready to hit someone.
And I think Beleriand is nowhere to be seen.
Yeah. So the three of you rush up these stairs, and you can see that this captain is like watching you almost calmly, like walk up to the top. Like turns his head to the side, puts his hands out wide, and he starts speaking again in this language that you can't understand, and then he like shakes his head. There are three of you.
There are. And it will be plenty to see you at the bottom of this endless sea.
That is not where I will go. I am not afraid. Come then, traitors.
Varel spits at the word traitor and just advances.
Pulls out two swords and initiative.
So that's a 20. It's in a natural, so that's 22.
I will be leading the charge from the back, it seems, with a 10.
I don't know what it is with this game and my dice. They don't roll like this in any other game. 2 crits in a session.
Don't talk to me about crits, Dan. Just don't do it. Don't do it.
So this man pulls out these two swords and begins to like wave them around. Obviously, an expert. He dives forward to attack. He dives towards you first, Varroth. You're the one who spat. You're the one who gave him the cheek, and he moves very, very quickly. And he slashes. Only one of them connects, but it bites as it does so. You'll take 4 slashing and 4 poison, and I will need you to make a con save, please.
We're actually resistant to poison as per our ranger thing.
Deadly. Then you'll take 2 poison.
Thank you very much. Yes, does that mean like good against saves as well, or is it just resistant to the damage?
Without looking it up, I think it's resistance. I think it's advantage on saves as well. But
up to you, Lloyd. Up to you. I don't mind.
I assume it is. Yeah, go for it.
Advantage
you've got the prince twice. Or...
Yeah, I think that's the purpose. Yeah.
Right. Okay.
So for a Constitution saving throw, that was a 15 on the die. Let me just quickly, just bear with me.
That's enough. You're okay.
I've got proficiency in con anyway. Yeah, thanks. Yeah, 21.
Okay. So he slashes you with that poison blade. You can start to feel it sting as he does so. He's going to use a bonus action to cause you to make an acrobatics check, please.
Oh shit. That's a 19 on the die.
Okay. So he like slashes once high, once in the middle, once low, and as you're kind of like dun, 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 he like steps next to you and like tries to push you to the ground, but you're able to move back out of the way. He's unbelievably quick. Beleriand, you are climbing on the side of the ship still.
I'm presuming I'm close enough to. I've been following them up on the outside the ship, but sort of up towards where he is.
Yeah.
So there's and spray sort of flies across the ship, and there's another and spray from below flies across the ship, and as the spray clears, there's Beleriand sort of standing behind him, sort of moving in like a fast shadow, attacking him. And do I get advantage for attacking? I mean, has he seen me coming, or can I attack with surprise?
I'm going to give him a check at disadvantage because he's fighting fire. No, doesn't see you.
Okay, so with that advantage, I hit an armor class of 24.
Yep.
And my damage will be...
With the dragon tooth.
Yep.
Nice.
It's... So, the dragon tooth cuts through his mail for... Sorry about this.
No worries.
It's for 27.
Nice. So this slash, and he doesn't even turn. He keeps his focus on you, Farah. He knows there's an enemy behind him, but he will deal with that when he needs to. Cyneric.
Right. Let's get an idea of where we are. We're up on like an upper deck of this ship.
Yeah,
is it?
It's kind of like a tower almost, like a castle in the back of a ship. So you've gone up this like staircase, and there's like this flat area where like the helm is, and there's also like a cabin at the back and stuff, but you're in this maybe 40-foot like plain wood area. There's like a couple of rails and stuff like that, but it's mostly open space.
You said there was a stockpile of the explosive material somewhere.
Well, there's barrels lined up all around, but what's inside, who knows?
Okay. And there's no... There are other men like watching, and he's like, "These are mine, don't interfere," or are
That's
we?
Exactly it. Yeah, there's like chanting.
Okay. I am going to still try still trying to get his feet, maybe, as the whole thing shakes. He kind of like looks around at all of the men and the barrels and tries to formulate something. But nothing comes to him right now. I imagine I can't like go and do anything to the barrels because they're surrounded by people. So
Yeah.
it seems honor bound that we're in this center just to fight this one man. I am going to attempt, like I normally do, to flank the opponent coming from the side, but he is, but not on Ciaro. So I will move around Faroth and try and complete the box that we have on this guy.
Okay, no worries.
And strike out. And strike out for a second time. The first one misses. The second one is a non-natural 20.
Okay, he's going to use a reaction to parry that, giving him a AC of 24. So the first one misses, and he's like aware that you're there. All of a sudden, he feels the of the axe, and then this sword comes and blocks the second.
That's me.
Okay. He goes and unleashes another flurry. And let's see what happens. Okay, a 20 to hit you, Farad.
Yeah, that's going to hit.
A 26 to hit you, Beleriand.
Oh, yes.
Ouch.
And a 90 to hit you, Sinirk, which I think misses.
19.
Yeah.
I think it would if I was on Ciaro, but I actually have less armor not on her, so it does hit.
Oh, okay. All right. It's going to be 8 slashing Faroth.
Ouch.
And 1 poison.
Okay.
You need to make a save against poison.
Still have advantage, yeah?
No, you actually don't. So in the chat, it has been made clear that it's just to poison damage, not to the status.
Fair. Okay.
Okay.
Crossed. 16.
Okay, you're okay. Just about. You can feel it begin to course through you. The second strike lashes out at you, Beleriand. Jesus. It's going to be 9 slashing and 2 poison.
Okay.
And a save from you, please. A con save. Okay, you are poisoned. The poison condition, and you can feel it like dig into you, and you immediately feel like sickly. Your vision starts to blur. Sinirk, he strikes you with the other sword, which seems to have a different situation. Jesus. I think 8 slashing and 6 acid damage. I know, right? What the hell is acid damage? I need you to make me a dex save, please.
14.
Okay, so the sword like rakes across the elven chain and like seems to like slash, and you can see some of these like links begin to like melt and fizzle. Your armor class is reduced by 1.
Right.
As like the sword begins to burn through some of these links. That's him, bored.
The rage can be seen on Board's face. He's just going to move in for a strike. He's entering his battle fury for once in the day. And if you guys everyone's kind of surrounding the prince, correct?
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. Then he's going to, with his 2 basically hand axes, he's going to jump over the line and meet the prince head on with strike. He does so, attacking with advantage for a total of 19.
That will hit.
All right, and that is 12. 12 points of damage as the hatchet of Amon Lonk is buried in his midsection momentarily. And with an extra attack, he's going to bring down the rusty blade from the ship for a total of 24. And in that same mode, 8 points of damage from this salt-bitten bit of steel.
Nice.
And he lets out a low guttural scream.
He's not expecting this many, and you can see a look in his eye of like, maybe this is too much. He looks around, unsure. This like flicker of fear in a man you know is not used to feeling that emotion. Faroth.
Apologies, I was stuck on my character sheet. So Faroth is reeling from these attacks that have struck him, and he rolls with the last attack, and he growls, looking the prince in the face, and he says, "Whether you be upon sea or land, the line of Anarion shall best you!" And he lunges forth, uttering his royalty revealed. Everyone gets 9 HP back. As you are filled with hope that we might win the day, and he needs to make a DC 16 charisma saving throw, please, before I make my attacks, which I shall roll.
He makes it.
He makes it very well. The first attack is definitely going to miss, I'm afraid. He parries it easily. I imagine this dude's like the sword of the morning, like we're all like trying to push against him, but he's just like ting, 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 ting. Yeah, the next one, however, is going to be a 22.
That'll do it.
Perfect. So that is 15 points of damage as I rake the blade, the Flame of the North across his chest.
He like takes that attack, and he says, "Anarion is no royal line. I am of true royalty of Numenor." He like mutters that under his breath, and he like looks around and then calls for help. "Help me! You must assist me!" And his men begin like hefting weapons. There's like a murmur goes around them of like, should we? But then they obey and they take a step forward, and they're going to rush forward as well. Okay, I'm going to have him attack. Okay, his first 2 miss, but his third, is with advantage on board, isn't it? Yes. His third will connect with you, Board. This quick strike to the forearm.
And also just a reminder that everyone attacking me has advantage on it, because I'm not trying to defend myself whatsoever.
Yeah. It's going to be 10 slashing, 6 poison.
Wow.
You'll take half from the slashing, I think, because you rage.
True. Thank you.
And con save, please. Sorry.
That's a total of 6.
Okay, you are poisoned. You can feel this begin to course through you as well, and you can start to feel this nausea. Your head starts to swim. And then the men start to move forward, and they start to like slash all around. So, Faroth, that's going to be a 17 to hit you.
Faroth just manages to deflect it, pushing the man back.
Beleriand, that's going to be a 19 to hit you.
Oh, yes.
3 slashing damage from a hand axe to the back while you're trying to face this sword master. You feel a sort of onto your back, Cyneric, but it doesn't penetrate. And Board, you take 1 slashing damage as a hand axe. Well, that's reduced by your rage. So a hand axe kind of barely catches you and grazes you.
Cool.
All right. Beleriand.
Beleriand looks it. Beleriand, as the boat is heaving up and down, is also his mind is sort of heaving up and down, and he's going in and out of focus on this guy in front of him. But he loves everything about this guy. The what he's wearing, everything interests him, and his eyes are just flickering up and down. And does he have any extra weapons on him?
Oh yes, definitely. He's got these 2 swords, but he also has like various curved knives around his person.
Okay, so Beleriand again leaps in with his dragon-bladed weapon and hits an armor class of 13. That won't hit, will it?
No, it won't hit him.
Yeah, and as he does so, he's trying to snatch, but in his snatch one of the other weapons, but in his delirium, he's easy to read, and the master swordsman easily moves out of his way.
Okay, no problem. Cyneric.
Carving at the mass, will it make it? Well, no. The guy's a bigger threat. I think Cyneric's a little surprised and annoyed. Like, what is this black cursed magic that is undoing his armor? So I'm gonna lash out again at the guy. Right. So that is a 20 again, not natural, and 17.
20 hits.
Uh, 17 damage from the single axe blow. Oh, no, actually, take that down by 2. That's 15. Again, thinking about being on horse. 15 damage.
Okay, still nice.
He's kind of being the only one with a shield. You know, he's like trying to do his best to like strike at that guy and then turn to the mass and like rebound as many blows as he can, covering his friends if he can in this.
Yeah.
Just press of men.
Okay. The prince explodes once more with a volley of strikes. Ooh. Okay. The first one slides over your headboard, even with advantage. The second one is going to pierce into Beleriand. For 3 slashing and 1 poison. Minimum damage. And the third was a critical hit on you, Farath.
Okay.
Which could be bad news. $15 slashing and poison.
Oh, God. Is
15
that when you reduce the poison or?
You reduce the poison. Oh, yeah, I should tell you which is which. Sorry. So you got 7 points of poison.
Okay.
And 8 of slashing.
Okay.
And I'm going to need you to roll me a D12 and a D20, please.
Oh, no. D12 first. Here we go. I don't even remember which is good and which is bad on these. That is a 3.
Okay. And a d20, please.
4. I know one's good low and one's bad low, so I know what either way I'm pretty screwed.
Oh my goodness. Okay, so he like feints high, and you bring your blade up high to block, but then his other blade like bites deeply into the muscle of your thigh. I need you to make me a Constitution save right now, please.
Natural 20.
Excellent. So you don't fall to the ground, but as he like pulls it out, you can feel like the agony, and there's like this little spray of blood. Your movement is reduced by 10 feet, and your armor class is reduced by 2 until you're back to full health.
Oh my god.
So
Revenge, Lloyd. Revenge.
Yeah, do it right now.
That is modified 20.
Yep, that'll do it.
Because we keep forgetting. That is 10, 9. That is 14 points of slashing damage as he staggers back. There's blood pouring from him, but he manages to hit with that strike.
You can see that he's bleeding pretty heavily from quite a few of these wounds, and he's not moving at the same speed that he was at the start of this duel that you began, but he still stands. That was his turn. Okay, Board.
Board is a blur of movement, but he's been slowed by this poison. He feels sickened and nauseous. He usually has advantage, but because of the disadvantage, I'm just going to roll 1d20 when he attacks. And he does have a flurry of attacks on the closest enemy to him. Actually, he knows that you ought to learn as much as you can about your enemy. So he looks to the closest enemy to him. I want to know, like, who is this person and what's something that they're wearing, like a fashionable trinket or their hat or something interesting that he would want to take note of.
Sure. So there's all these different like corsairs all around, is what you would call them. They wouldn't call themselves that. They are from Umbar, and I guess you would maybe have heard of Umbar. This one has a strange thing on his head. It's like a bit of cloth that's been like very tightly wrapped, and there's like a jewel kind of here at the center, and there's like a sort of chains hanging on either side of it. I don't think you maybe would have seen anyone wearing something like that before.
No, he would see it as a natural helmet, and so therefore bring his attacks low as he could, and he gets a natural 20. And the total is 12 points of damage. Sorry, that's incorrect. 9 points of damage, but with the crit, I don't know if you double that.
So usually you just roll the dice twice.
Okay, cool. Sweet. I'll do that. Plus 8. So 17 points of damage with the Hatchet of Amon Lunk. And he brings again down the rusted dagger for 20 total.
Another hit.
And 5 points of damage.
Okay.
He's struggling to stand up, though. He feels the area that was struck with the poison is turning into like pins and needles.
So this was against the mob, not the main guy, right? You were like looking
Corsairs.
for individuals. Yeah.
Yep, Corsairs.
So
Directly at this guy in front of him.
you begin cutting a swath like this first when you, like you say, strike low to avoid the helmet, and just like he goes almost flying back into another one. And as the next one rushes up, the dagger catches him in the chest and he falls. And there's just this vroom, vroom of people falling. These Corsairs start to look worried and try to approach from a different angle, seeing what Board is doing to them. Faroth.
Faroth is staggered back, like he's looking down his leg, and he knows that has put him into a substantial amount of trouble. This swordsman is unlike anyone he's ever seen defending against the Heralds, and holding his own, and he makes his attacks. Oh man, one definitely misses. The other one is a 20 modified, so I'm guessing that hits, right?
That hits.
That is 15 points of damage, as once again consistent. He whirls him out once again, thrusting with a feint and then sliding into a horizontal sideways swipe with the Flame of the North.
So this will take him down, but he will make one final strike before he goes. And he swings out at you with the smaller of the two blades to try and take you with him.
Okay.
And misses. So he goes to strike you down, but he misses, and he's like kind of blurry. And he says, "Only a king can kill a king. Maybe you really are." And then he falls.
And Varoth is just looking down at him, and there's this like a beat where he looks at this prince, and perhaps once this was a great man before he felt a shadow, and then he snaps back into the moment, realizing that they're still in the chaos of the battle, and he begins looking for Glorfindel.
Yeah, at the bottom of the stairs that you had gone up, you can see that Glorfindel and his like elves have made a sort of formation, like a shield sort of wall, and they're standing behind their shields and they're just slashing as like some of the crew are trying to rush up there. Many of them are still going about their duties, and you can still hear the boom, 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 boom. Hasn't been interrupted, and still the of catapult fire and ballista fire everywhere. But that's where Glorfindel is. He's trying to hold off those. You can see the looks on the faces of the people, the Corsairs up here, seeing their prince fall. This royal figure for them. You can see them look horrified. Many of them like scream. And there's like a scramble to like grab his body.
Varoth looks to his friends and to Glorfindel and he yells, "We cannot linger. We need to send this foul vessel to the depths."
Beleriand has already joined the melee to get the guy's body. All he sees is history in front of him, and he's trying to snatch whatever he can.
Okay, do you want to give me either an athletics or a sleight of hand to grab something?
Cynric is also keen, but I think Cynric wants to cut that guy, like just plant an axe in his face. So while other people clamber to get his stuff or whatever, I want Cynric to be like attacking people in the back to cut his own swords.
Yep. I imagine Bord is doing the same thing. He's kind of taken by the battle rage, and these Corsairs are like,
Yes.
Many of them not worried about their own lives. They want to make sure that this body does not like hit the ground and is not defaced. You can see they're like throwing themselves in the way to try and get his body away from you, so you don't deface it. Yeah, Beleriand, you can grab one of the swords or a dagger.
I'll grab a dagger.
He also has like bracelets, a necklace. You know, he's bedecked in finery. Rings.
I'll grab. Oh, we're in Middle Earth. I'll grab a ring.
Excellent.
I was going to say, everything you started listing, Lloyd, sounded better to him than the last today.
Yeah.
And when you ended on rings, it was like, well, come on.
It's a simple ring, sort of gold with a slight silver inscription. Seems to be valuable, but simple.
I'll just. It's easy to sleight of hand. That's why I took that one. Nobody will have noticed.
All right, you've got it. You like slide that into your pocket and you begin to step away. They drag his body into the cabin and they like close the door while still there's chaos. What's the plan?
Tanook has had a rough day and he's trying to take it out on them. So that's why he was swinging at those people.
Beleriand will be looking round the weapons that were exploding. He's trying to see what the source of them is, or where they're sort of, where these weapons are coming from, and if he can work out some sort of pattern and see any weakness in how to exploit it.
Excellent. So you can make me insight or investigation.
I'll use my inspiration that you... Well, doesn't matter. No, I'm delirious and obsessed with my ring, and I can't work out anything. I get a 6.
Yep. Cynaric and Board are both like preoccupied, like still fighting these Corsairs. Many of them who are not trying to fight you, but nonetheless, they are your enemy. They are the enemy.
I think Cynaric might be next in the initiative order, but I imagine that the crowd is kind of dispersing, right? Those who are not trying to protect their leader's body might be fleeing. So
Yes. Mm-hmm.
As everything kind of dies down, that's what Board would do. I'm not sure where we are again, like I said in the initiative.
Are we still going by initiative?
I think we're kind of out of it now because.
Okay, great. Then you would see this just slowing, heavy breathing, lumbering Board just kind of slowly kind of fall to one knee and crawl over to this, a side of this swaying mass and just clutch onto something that he can hold on to and breathe. And he is covered in the blood of. Well, you said these were people of
Umbar.
Okay, so like Southrons. Okay, yep. Gotcha. Thank you.
So if they have like broken and dispersed, and for the most part, there's nothing left. Like that king's been dragged away. There's nothing left upon the deck apart from bodies and blood. I'm guessing.
Yeah, there's those barrels kind of piled around, but there's also like down. Like if you look, there's like 100 feet of ship, in front of you.
Yeah.
With like various siege engines and the huge drums and all sorts of stuff going on,
Okay. Can Cynaric, like, as he cuts down a man and like, I imagine him and Board almost like back to back at some point or something, while Baragon's just like clutching this ring between them. If he looks to one of the barrels as they like flee generally in the direction of the captain's quarters, can I look what's inside one of the barrels?
Yes. You would see as you like flip it up, it's maybe only a quarter full, but it's some sort of powder, black in color. It's a really strong, acrid smell from it.
Can I time? I don't know how used to the waves he's got, but I imagine as it sort of hits a wave, everything tips back a bit and then comes crashing down again. Can he line the barrel up with where the cabin is? And let go as the wave tips the boat up, and the barrel will go rolling all the way down and bump onto the cabin door. And by the time that's happened, he's already drawn his bow and will fire.
Yes.
To hit that cabin.
Okay. Yeah, I like the idea.
I'm going to take the 2 shots. The first one in fine form misses. But the second one was a 19.
Yeah. So I think the first one like just thumps into the cabin wall, maybe.
Yeah.
But this second one, these are your fire arrows, right?
Yes, this is what I'd save this for. Yeah. Or not both. I don't know how many I've made,
sure.
But I was using fire arrows.
So then there's this. Maybe a moment of quiet. Certainly for those on the deck who know what's about to happen, like a lot of the Corsairs who are like up in the mast or whatever, they can see, and there's just like this as the powder like goes off like a firework, like you might have seen a wizard do before, just and then connects to to the barrel, and there is an explosion.
I know I'm doing this, so I'm a fair distance away, but I've also tracked where Board is and where the stairwell is, and when I've fired the arrows, I'm going to start moving and try and get help Board on the way.
Yeah. So there's probably from where you had the barrel to the cabin door 40 feet, and then maybe another 20 to the stairway where Glorfindel is.
Okay.
And I think as the thing starts to burn, a bunch of the Corsairs above would like start screaming warnings, and many of them would like climb up even higher. in like the hopes of getting away from it. The ones on the bottom where Glorfindel is, they hear whatever they're shouting, this like strange foreign language, and they just start running and jumping over the side and trying to get away. There's like a mass evacuation. Glorfindel turns around. What's going on? And there is a huge explosion. First from the cabin, where the cabin was, all these different barrels that explode, but then you realize underneath, under the decks, is where they keep most of it, and there's this chain. Just a massive explosion. The whole end of the ship, where the cabin was, is like blown to smithereens and goes in that sort of direction. I don't even know what to do.
Can I just say one thing though? Because I think Faroth would have seen that happening, and he sees like the ignition of this thing, and he goes to run, but there's that tremendous pain in his leg. So I just want to say that, in all fairness, Faroth is going to be a bit slower on the uptake on this because he can't move as quickly.
I thought we were like 100 feet up on a tower or something. Well, no. Maybe not that far up, but you said we're up on a tower.
Yeah.
I thought most of the gunpowder would be in the hold. I just wanted to blow that room out as an act of vengeance, but oh well.
I think there's enough of it on the ship that there was a couple of barrels where you were, and like that's enough to like go down and up and everything else. So I'm not even going to do saves because I don't think it's possible that you would be able to like jump out of the way of this. So I'm just going to roll percentile for each of you. Give me a second.
Great. This is great.
Yeah.
While we're giving him a second, I'll say I was watching that play I was telling you guys about earlier, that stage play I saw. Actual Wilhelm scream during the show, which was kind of funny.
Amazing.
It was. It was a Sunday matinee, so all those 90-year-olds really thought so.
Oh. This isn't good. We don't have a ship either. I don't think the mast went down. And I'm guessing it's locked against the other ship, so that's going to blow up as well.
Lloyd is a pretty metal persona in the community, and every once in a while he's got to earn it. He's got to kind of step forward and remind people why, you know.
Oh, no.
Oh, no.
Okay, so the ship basically explodes. The whole ship explodes. There's just this. I guess if you were far away enough, it would look like like it immediately just explodes outwards. You are all thrown into the air and towards the sea in various directions. So I've rolled a percentile to see which direction you go in and where you land roughly. Good news is both Cynaric and Board, who are heavily armored, land close to a ship. You actually fly in almost exactly the same place. Board and Cynaric, there was a 55 and a 53, so that's going to be basically exactly the same place. So you maybe hang on to each other in the air, and there's like a ragdoll sort of. And
Cynaric
you like
came for me, you know. Remember?
Yeah, he did. Grabbed you. You like splash into the water where the two elven ships had been battling the Corsair ships, and you kind of land after the fire and then woof, into the water. There are oars like in the water, and you can kind of like see them as you collapse inwards. Beleriand, you have gone. 53 was this way. You have gone that way. So, like, in the direction of the cabin, basically, just blown out in that direction. You are smashed into the water, and you'll be there, quite far away from the ships. Hopefully, you can swim. Faroth, you have been knocked in the direction of your ship, that you sailed here on, but maybe 50 feet out from the actual ship. So there's just this, you can see almost nothing because you're just like smashed. Maybe you feel like ribs crack from the force of the explosion. there's just like this fireball. You don't see anything about Glorfindel or his elves. You can see maybe while you're in the air just these bodies everywhere of these Umbar sailors flying in every direction and like landing like rain into the ocean. The Umbar ships, the little ones, 3 of them just go with this big ship. They're close enough and they just go up in flame. One of them remains. The 2 elven ships are like rocked to the point. There's a huge wave that like sends them. Thankfully, they're perfectly crafted elven ships, and so they kind of like wash with the waves. And you are underwater, all of you.
Do we take damage?
I think you're going to have to from an explosion like that.
Yep.
God knows.
The barrel was only a quarter full. I somewhat misjudged.
But there
the
are more.
situation.
There were more.
I know they said it was full of that stuff. Like that was my concern doing that.
And I figured that the whole thing was probably a bomb anyway. Like they knew that this was going to happen.
Oh, well. I thought I know there were multiple barrels, but Lloyd suggested they weren't all explosive, and I thought we were on top of a tower, and I could just blow part of this tower down. A more controlled explosion.
And you single-handedly destroyed the shadow in this encounter. That was amazing.
It's
that was
rad.
cool.
Yeah.
I also feel I feel more guilty for having possibly killed the most perfect creature we've ever seen and his people, but maybe not. Maybe they survived.
Yeah.
I'm going to say it's going to be 3d6 force damage from the explosion. Please, no one fall unconscious.
I thought you were gonna, when you said you were gonna roll a d100, I thought that was gonna be the damage, and I was all for that.
I thought that was going to be the death roll to see who just died.
Well. If it had gone below, I had said there was a 20% chance of someone dying, and if it had gone below that, somebody would have just been like vaporized. So luckily that didn't happen. You're going to take 11 force damage.
Okay.
And splash into the water. You can maybe hear just the sort of debris and of Umbar corsairs splashing into the water as you float in the water. Is anyone unconscious?
No.
Okay.
No, I'm not.
You've been knocked far enough that you hit the water with force enough to fall pretty deeply. And you can see up above that the water seems to be on fire. There seems to be like a fire spreading across the surface of the water. And so with the 4 of you splashed underwater and struggling to understand what had happened, we're going to leave it there for today. And we'll pick it up next time and see what happens.
Awesome.
Oy! Okay, I hope you guys enjoyed that. I did. If you watched, thanks for watching. See you next time.